Hello, my name is Exabu, and this is Unity of Command 2 Barbarossa DLC Leningrad Approaches Mission on Hard. 3, 2, 1. Alright, last time we did something in the for the Army Group Center. Today, let's do one of the relatively few missions for Army Group North, and in this case, it's Leningrad Approaches, a mission which I quite enjoyed, and yeah, there's a lot to fight, and there is a variety of different environments here. So let me just point it out right now that I think the mission has been changed since release. So my recommendations, maybe it's just because of hard, but I don't think it's entirely true. That I think they've beefed up the Soviets, and so my review, my guide into this mission as part of my cracking series on the Hexaboom channel is still true, largely, but it's not perfectly true, and I'll talk about what I'd change compared to that approach. So here's me advancing towards Holm. This is where you just need to punch through those defenders with your infantry, and generally, Holm is the only problem with Holm is that you sometimes it can be slightly tricky with the supply, but not really. And this is my strategy with the western parts of the map. So Tallinn, really, don't worry about that motorized division, any of those defenders covering the approach straight towards Tallinn, because they're way too strong. You're gonna waste too much time, and you really more than Tallinn itself. You really need that railway. The railway between Rakvere and Narva, well, and the railway leading up to you as well. So capture that railway, clear that railway. That's your main objective. Tallinn is not going to be difficult, right? So eventually you'll take it. It's not an urgent objective. So just go ahead and do the railway. The railway is mandatory. And you actually might guess why, and you'll see, okay, as soon as so the map has loaded. So as you can see, Narva is a rather difficult objective. So it's a city, it's a town, and it's guarded, well, it's protected by a river. So as far as I know, the name of the river is the same as that of the town. So in any case, they are difficult to attack from where you are right now, right? And they're supplied from Tallinn. So if you cut that railway, Narva is going to fall. And that's what you need to aim at. So Narva is a more urgent objective, and you have to deal with it eventually. Plus, once you clear that railway, you can bring some of those divisions. And as you can see, I've got two divisions, three very well-equipped divisions, which are all veterans and everything. So it's very likely that you'll have very experienced troops in that area as well. So yeah, you can bring them up to Narva, and from there on to the Leningrad objective. But as you can see, in the south, I'm approaching Holm. It's not going to be difficult. My suggestion with Holm, again, here's me clearing the railway. Sometimes, yeah, you really have to take some losses. And luckily, I've been able to take the Soviet supply hub. That was very fortunate. Alright, and just moving up, and it's not that important. In the north, really, don't worry about Leningrad too much. Kill whoever you can kill easily. Just force them to, destroy their troops, weaken them, but don't expect anything decisive to happen there. You might try to move a tank division or two towards Luga. It might be an interesting idea, but certainly otherwise don't rush towards Stalingrad. It's very easy to get into a trap and to get surrounded and circled, and just lose your tank divisions, which I have a couple of times when I just first tried the mission. By the way, one of the main thing that is different for me, at least, in this mission and my approach towards it, compared to what I talked about in cracking, is that I've decided to take Luga. I've realized that Luga is not very much a pistol, but a town. Let me just repeat that joke from cracking. Anyway, so what I did in Luga previously was that I just gave a tank an oversupply tag and sent it around the town, across all of the swamps and everything. And it kind of worked. So you can cut the supply of the town and pretty easily take it pretty soon, right? So, but the problem is that right now it didn't work that well, at least on hard. It may be that sort of it wasn't super easy on classic, but it was very doable. And here's me preparing for Holm. Don't forget to cross that river. It just makes the attack so much easier. And I found that it's very difficult to get there and do any, like, getting there is not difficult with your tank behind Luga, like inching around it. It's not difficult to get there. It's difficult to do any serious damage there. So because battles are more difficult, the predictions are much worse on hard, right? So that tank division couldn't do anything serious, right? And it's always like you have these strong Panzer III modeled tank divisions in the north. So what you have in the center is the Panzer 38 division, which is slightly weaker. So it just didn't work. It just didn't work. As you can see, the division has strong specialist steps. So like it's not like lack of fire superiority or whatever. It's really just firepower. It's really just not being able to do it in the conditions provided. I've also found that Stara Russa, like the troops around Stara Russa, I don't know if they've changed it, if they beefed them up, or maybe it's just a result of me switching to hard. They're much more aggressive than what I experienced on Classic, and I played this scenario back when the game was pretty much just coming out. The DLC was just coming out, so it may have been changed. They may have beefed it up. I just have no way of telling. And so, or at least with these playthroughs, it was really hard. Oh, by the way, it's me taking Luga on turn 4 out of 10. Never underestimate the ability of set piece attack to force enemies to retreat. It's so powerful. It's so powerful. I'm actually gonna talk about this in my Kharkov mission. Which is coming, well, relatively soon. I'm gonna cover the entire DLC because I've almost finished it on hard. And in Stara Russa, you can expect the Soviets to be much more aggressive. This time I've been very successful in containing them and preventing them from attacking. But I found they're very aggressive if you give them any chance to push towards the west, they will do it. And as you can see, they've got plenty of troops and strong troops as well. Yeah, so you've got like those cavalry divisions with specialist steps. Actually, you can't see them right now, but they're there. And by the way, here's me taking Rakvere and that railway. So the guys in Narva are already starving. They don't have their pizza. And so, like, I think next turn I'll just take Narva as well and not worry about that little town actually causing me trouble in my back. And that kind of scared me back when I was playing, like, doing this playthrough in the mission. The Soviets suddenly, that's unexpected. This tank division, that infantry division coming out across the river. Maybe because I took Kaluga so early and so easily. Maybe because of that. But I didn't expect that to happen, so I kind of was worried, and I think I sent someone to kind of intercept them and prevent them from cutting my supply lines, because, well, Narva is still in enemy hands, and I kind of, was worried about that. And by the way, Novgorod is mine. It's very important, by the way, in the middle. Push. Don't wait in the middle. Don't wait for everything else to happen, right? So the Soviets will entrench. They'll sit there and keep entrenching, and it will be just horrifyingly difficult to deal with the place. With essentially this stretch of railway between my Herasgrupa Nord HQ and Novgorod and ultimately Chudovo. This is a stretch of the railway that you really need to die for. Really, just to send your people to die for, right? So you might take some losses, but it's worth it, because honestly, there's no other way to like confidently, easily take that area, and it gets worse and worse. All right, so let me see what I'm doing, and I'm doing this. It looks like I'm pretty successfully containing Stara Russa. I'm probably gonna take it in a couple of turns, and right now, I'm trying to attack these guys just to discourage them, just to weaken them slightly, to prevent them from getting any ideas that they could screw me over, because the Soviets really like to take that that conjunction between the vehicle road, just the road, and the railway, where like right next to my Panzergruppe 4 HQ, that's that area with 2 bridges. They love taking it. Obviously, it's kind of this very important junction, and they will try to push towards it and cut my supply lines, but yeah, no dice in this case. So it's worth spending the lives of your infantry to actually contain these guys and discourage them from even trying to attack, and they're not attacking here. And I'm in a very good position to actually take Stara Russa because I've got this veteran. It looks like yeah, that's a veteran infantry with 2 artillery steps. So yeah, it's very, very likely, thus like not very likely, they will just easily take the town. All right, let's see what I do in turn 6. And so yeah, I think my capture of Tallinn in this playthrough was not super easy, I remember. So it's generally not too difficult. As you can see, they don't have anything serious sitting in the town itself. Just your regular infantry division with no specialist steps, and Narva is mine, finally. And so these guys are now supplied. These guys, my tanks, are now can be properly supplied, and I can actually remove that supply hub from in the middle of nowhere south of Narva, and actually like plop those supply hubs where I really need them. So give pizza to everyone. Finally, because like actually that level 4 supply hub is really problematic. And in general, my advice when handling and when managing supply hubs, generally prefer, if you can, no, you can't always do that, generally prefer a lot of smaller to one big one. And the reason a lot of smaller supply hubs to a big one, right? So why? The problem is, if you centralize it, if you suddenly, you might be like actually wasting all of your supply, all of your trucks, all of your pizza trucks, on one big supply hub. And sometimes, and if need be, if something happens that you need additional supply in a certain place where that big supply hub doesn't reach, it's going to be very difficult for you to take trucks away from that supply hub, because, well, so many units rely on that. So even if you remove just one, you're going to get in trouble. And so if you've got these decentralized supply hubs, you generally have more flexibility. It's much easier to remove somewhere and add somewhere else. I found that. In addition, obviously, to just having a set of trucks, a set of pizza trucks to well, send them where you need them, but you generally don't have that luxury. Even though, as always, keep in mind, don't worry about using cards. So many missions give the Opel truck cards, so for your supplies. So don't worry about that. So you may use them right from the start, and like not even spend them right off the bat. You might actually wait a little bit and not kind of commit those trucks to a particular supply hub until you really need them. Even though obviously there are exceptions to that. And by the way, I'm pretty quite successful with all of that stuff. And here's me trying to intercept those Soviets. Tallinn is actually kind of difficult right now, even though it's generally it isn't. Don't get the wrong impression. This is a very poor take, very poor run of my capture of Tallinn in this mission. It's one of the worst. Generally, even on hard, it's never been too difficult. And I've just halved to Leningrad. Like, Tallinn is probably gonna fall next turn. I think it was slightly difficult for me to take to Leningrad, as far as I remember, in this playthrough. Alright, so, back to supply. So, yeah, I mentioned those cards. So, use those cards if you know that you're gonna be able to replace them right from the start. But there are missions, indeed, there are missions where you just need to set up a single big supply hub and just use it throughout the mission. And if like you run out of its range, yeah, right, so, well, tough titty. You'll have to use like HQ abilities or well, there are examples of smaller missions like Schlüsselburg. Schlüsselburg, you really don't have to worry about supply. It's gonna be easy. You pretty much the stuff you arrange at the beginning of the mission is gonna stay with you. It's gonna be with you. Another example is Kharkov, which I actually completed today. I don't know how it happened, but it's incredible. If you haven't played Kharkov, well, here's a spoiler for you. It's full of dirt. It's full of mud. It's very muddy terrain. When it's not muddy, it's snowy. Well, actually, it's very lucky. You pray to your god that it snows in that mission, and I'm gonna talk about it later. And in my cracking video, I'm probably not gonna publish one of these videos on Kharkov before I do my final cracking video on my Hexabit channel, because Kharkov is one of those missions that I haven't covered there. And so I'm probably gonna record something for that mission today already. So in any case, in Kharkov, you're in lots of trouble in terms of supply. It's not just the mud. You don't have any decent railway connections, right? And you are stuck. Well, you're like the best location for setting up supply hub in general is not far from the edge of the map where you start. So you really need as much range as possible. So you eventually end up with a level 5 supply hub, like in that position, and that's it. That's what you get. And you can actually have to take certain objectives beyond that limit. And it's clearly that they were set up in a way that prevents you from getting well supplies in those particular areas. So for additional challenge, right? And back to Leningrad approaches. So this is me. I think I've just taken Tallinn. Let me see. I've got distracted by talking about a city way far to the south. And all right. So the Soviets are not trying to counterattack. Well, obviously these guys have two already steps and are veterans and are German infantry, which is pretty strong to begin with. And right now I am attacking these guys for experience and once again to discourage them, not to give them any ideas. Actually, I'm paying for that also with my artillery, unfortunately. But well, that's war for you. And I'm actually entrenching them. Yes, Tallinn is mine. So as you can see, once again, Tallinn generally is easier than what you can see in this video. I just didn't do it well this time. And yeah, the only thing that I really need to deal with is Leningrad, and Leningrad is going to be mine. Next turn is going to be the last turn for taking the objective. And I don't think I'll be able to take it now. And I'm doing a very stupid thing right now. So one little rule, one rule of thumb. Well, it's not a rule of thumb. It's just like a sensible thing to do. It's never try to capture an enemy objective or anything, or important hex or anything. Never try to attack an enemy in that hex unless you know that you're gonna be able to take it on the same turn, because the Soviets just brought another division. Okay, I got lucky. They brought a weak division, right? And even though it's equipped to an AT step, I'm gonna kill it in time. But they could have just had an experienced, I don't know, mechanized division with something nasty in it. So, and yeah, I would have been screwed probably and not being able to actually conquer that in time, which is right now, turn 10. And right now I don't know what I'm doing. I'm probably moving units about so that I don't lose anything, but I got lucky, and that's the end, effectively, of the mission. I've taken all the objectives. The Soviets, as you can see, the map is virtually clear. They've got a bunch of troops in the east that I'm not gonna kill, but they have no way of screwing me over. So all of the objectives that I need to hold are in my hands and properly defended. And yes, I think this is it for today. Tomorrow we'll see what we do. And for now, thanks for watching and perhaps listening. And cheers.